Look up at the clear blue sky at noon and witness the blinding disk that anchors our entire existence in the cold void. You feel the warmth on your skin and watch the shadows dance on the ground, believing that the world is stable and eternal. But this is the greatest illusion the universe has ever conjured. At this very moment, while you squint against the glare, the star that gave birth to our system is already gone. It vanished exactly 8 minutes ago, removed from reality by a force beyond comprehension. The laws of physics, however, are rigid, and the speed of light is finite. The information that the sun is dead is racing towards us at roughly 300,000 kilometers per second across the 150 million kilometers of space that separate us from the center. We are living in a ghost system, orbiting a mass that is no longer there and basking in the final ancient photons of a corpse. The catastrophe does not begin with a fade or a flicker, but with a sudden violent switch to absolute negation. Precisely 8 minutes and 19 seconds after the disappearance, the timer runs out. In a single heartbeat, the blue sky is not just dimmed, it is deleted, replaced instantly by a curtain of profound blackness studded with distant, indifferent stars. There is no sunset, no twilight, and no warning. The moon, which shines only by reflecting solar fire, vanishes from the firmament in the same second, leaving the night sky empty and terrifying. The daylight side of the planet is plunged into a darkness deeper than any midnight we have ever known, while the night side simply loses the moon. But the darkness is only the visual component of the disaster. The true violence is gravitation. For billions of years, Earth has been falling around the sun, trapped in a delicate balance between its own momentum and the star's massive gravity. When the gravity wave of the missing sun passes us, the leash snaps. The Earth, moving at an orbital velocity of nearly 30 kilometers per second, is suddenly released from its circular path. We do not stop moving. Instead, we fly off in a straight line, moving tangentially to our former orbit like a stone released from a spinning sling. We are no longer a member of a solar system. We are a rogue planet, a lonely vessel drifting into the interstellar void at hypersonic speeds, carrying the moon with us as we journey into the endless night. The initial panic on the surface is absolute, but the thermodynamic reality is far more lethal than the psychological terror. Without the constant influx of 1,361 watts per square meter of solar energy, the planet begins to bleed heat into the vacuum. The first week is a chaotic descent into winter. The global temperature drops below 0 degrees Celsius within 7 days. The atmosphere holds on to some heat, but the land cools much faster than the oceans. This thermal imbalance triggers monstrous storms and hurricane-force winds along the coastlines as the atmosphere tries to equalize the temperature between the freezing continents and the still warm water. The water cycle, the engine that drives rain and rivers, grinds to a halt because evaporation ceases without sunlight. As the months drag on, the planet undergoes a horrifying transformation into a ball of ice. By the end of the first year, the surface temperature plummets to minus 73 degrees Celsius, colder than the harshest Antarctic winter. The oceans begin to freeze over. However, this ice layer acts as a planetary blanket. Ice is a poor conductor of heat, so once a crust of ice several kilometers thick forms on the surface, it traps the Earth's internal geothermal heat in the black depths below. While the surface is a frozen hell, the deep ocean remains liquid, warmed by the decay of radioactive elements in the Earth's core, preventing the planet from freezing solid for hundreds of thousands of years. The biological collapse is swift and merciless. Photosynthesis, the chemical process that turns sunlight into life, stops the moment the sky goes black. The base of the food chain is instantly severed. Herbivores starve or freeze, followed closely by the predators that hunt them. Trees might stand for decades as frozen statues, but their sap has solidified and their cells have ruptured. The only natural light remaining comes from the stars and the bioluminescence of dying deep-sea creatures. Yet in the crushing darkness of the ocean floor, life clings to existence. Hydrothermal vents pumping out superheated, mineral-rich water continue to flow, powered by the Earth's internal heat. Colonies of tube worms and clams that rely on chemosynthesis rather than photosynthesis survive, oblivious to the death of the sun. However, even they are doomed in the long run. The oxygen they breathe relies on ocean currents circulating surface water down to the depths. With the surface frozen and the circulation stopped, the deep ocean will slowly suffocate, leading to a total anoxic extinction event over millennia. The most surreal and terrifying phase of the apocalypse begins after the first decade. As the surface temperature drops toward -200 degrees Celsius, the air itself begins to die. The atmosphere, which we take for granted, is a gas only because it is warm enough. Atmospheric pressure drops to near vacuum, leaving the Earth exposed to raw cosmic radiation. Without the heliosphere, the magnetic bubble generated by the sun that protected us from interstellar particles, the surface becomes a radioactive wasteland. If humanity is to survive this extinction event, we must retreat from the surface entirely. The surface is now a vacuum-sealed freezer bathed in radiation. Our only hope lies in the warmth of the rocks. We would have to migrate deep underground, burrowing into the crust to harness geothermal energy. Regions like Iceland and Yellowstone, where the Earth's magma is close to the surface, would become the last bastions of civilization. We would live in airtight subterranean cities powered by nuclear reactors and geothermal plants, eating food grown under artificial lights. The global population would crash from 8 billion to perhaps a few million survivors clinging to life in the dark rock. We would become a species of mole people, remembering the legend of a time when a ball of fire moved across a blue ceiling and the air was a gas we could breathe freely. Eventually, the Earth reaches a thermal equilibrium. It stops cooling at around -240 degrees Celsius, or 30 degrees above absolute zero, balanced only by the slow leak of heat from the core. In this state, the planet can drift for billions of years. We become a Steppenwolf planet, a rogue world wandering through the galaxy. The ice on the surface preserves the frozen remains of our cities and our forests like a cosmic time capsule. There is a faint hope in this eternal night. If our frozen world were to be captured by the gravity of another star in the distant future, the ice might melt, the atmosphere might sublimate back into gas, and the dormant microbes and tardigrades frozen in the crust might awaken to start the cycle of life once again. But until then, Earth remains a silent, icy tomb, drifting forever in the void, a monument to the star that once gave it life.